Hello, it's Chillmonger. A couple of days ago, I'm on YouTube. I see a video from Thinking Critical. Jonathan Hickman has been vetoed out of the X-Men. Is that clickbait? What is he talking about? What? No, there's no way. I got to read this article later, and I put it off. And then I saw Comic Book Herald do a video, and in his positive take way, he's like, not for it. And I'm like, well, even he's okay. Let me see what this is about. Today, I read the article. It's that bad. I don't want to do fake outrage because I've done videos on this topic before, the way that the X-Men office has been. And this is, I guess, the verification of how things went down. Most important part of what Jonathan Hickman says here is, oh, plans have changed entirely, Hickman says. When I pitched the X-Men story, I pitched a very big, very broad 3-act, 3-event narrative, the first of which was House of X. And while this loosely worked as a 3-year plan, I told Marvel up front that I honestly had no idea how long the first part would last, because there were a lot of interesting ideas that I had seeded that other creators would want to play with. So I can only imagine that those seeds were Krakoa, people invading, trying to act up with that. The 5, what do you call the 5? They're called the 5 with Resurrections, and I guess X Factor took care of that. We have a bunch of villains living on Krakoa. Let's do some Hellions took care of that. You understand how there were a lot of seeds that were planted? Some of the Araco ancient apocalypse work, okay. Teeny Howard took care of that. So those seeds that were planted, he wanted to let the creators, the other writers, do work with them. So naturally, as another writer, you would think, okay, as soon as we're done with these story beats that he laid out for us, it's time for the next one. Because he said he was upfront that I honestly had no idea how long the first part would last. Because a lot of interesting ideas. And we left this rather open-ended, which is his downfall. I was also pretty clear with all the writers that came into the office what the initial 3-act plan was, so no one would be surprised when it was time for the line to pivot. So if I'm writing my comic on Benjamin Percy and I go, okay, X-Force issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, he didn't say anything. Okay, we'll make it to issue number 12. Huh? Well, nothing. By the way, I'm speaking in 6s because Marvel writes for the trades, right? So I'm doing my writing. I'm at issue number 18. Huh? Hickman? No, we're still not. You should be, you know what I mean? Writing every little bit with the expectation of Jonathan Hickman saying, okay, that's it. It's time to move on to phase 2. Because he told you this was how it's going to happen. And because it's his success. Like, instead, the writers... Let me keep reading. Let me tell you how they treated the head of X, which is a title with no official meaning behind it. It's just words that they put on a comic. It made you and me think. It was supposed to make you and me think that there was some sort of joint effort here. Hickman continues, however, I also knew that I was cooking with dynamite, and it was very possible that what I had written in House of X and the ideas contained within was not actually the first act of a 3-act story, but something that resonated more deeply and worked more like giant-sized X-Men, where it would represent a paradigm shift in the entire X-Men line for a prolonged period of time. In a way, he's complimenting himself, saying this is just as real as when Nightcrawler, Storm, and Wolverine debuted. There was nothing was the same after that. Basically, what he's saying. Now, is he talking about Krakoa? Was Krakoa supposed to fall? If that were the case, I wouldn't like it. I would prefer the X-Men to live on the same place for a long time. But if that was the plan from the beginning, then let's execute the plan. You guys remember the Star Wars sequel trilogy and how they didn't execute plans, and how it made the last movie made half as much money as the first movie? 3-act story. So during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, where things were locked down, just in case someone's watching this video not in 2021, when the time came for me to start pointing things toward writing the second act event, okay, it was during the pandemic, but when exactly was that? Was this around the time that Jerry Duggan said we write comics for ourselves? Was this what he's talking about? When was it? How much heads up did he give his writers? Because if he tells his writers, his writers, the team, if he tells them, guys, starting now, phase 2, and gives them no chance, which he's saying he did. But if he does, he's in the wrong. These guys could be in part 2 of their story, which is supposed to go 6 parts, and you guys are like, wait, what? But Hickman, we're in the middle of something. You gave us no warning. So like, I'm just giving Jonathan Hickman may not be an angel in this case, even though I'm totally on his side. I asked everyone if they were ready for me to do that, and to a man, everyone wanted to stay in the first act. What does that mean? I asked everyone if they were ready for me to do that, and to a man, everyone wanted to stay in the first act. To a man. Oh, does that mean that there was only one man who didn't object? I want to know which writers. It was a man, huh? I want to know which man didn't want to move on, and I mean did want to move on. Who's the one that goes, yeah, sure, let's just phase 2. Yeah, it's what you told me, Jonathan Hickman. I know. So you kind of gave me the heads up. Which one of these guys did it? Was it Jerry Duggan, Benjamin Percy, Zeb Wells, Vita Ayala, Teenie Howard? They don't count? To a man, he said. Who was it? Everyone wanted to stay in the first act. What if it was one of the females? Teenie Howard is his best friend. But the thing is, he said to a man. That's the mystery of the day. All right, everyone wanted to stay in the first act. It was really interesting because I appreciated that Hoxpox resonated with them to the extent that they didn't want it to end. But the reality was that I knew I would be leaving the line early. We know now. So it's nice to know. I appreciate the writer, Jonathan Hickman, expressing that so that I, the informed reader, knows what's going on here. I'm going to be the guy spending $4 on these comic books, and it's good to know where they're going and also where they're not going. And also, like, he needs to do this. He needs to say that there's not going to be a part 2 and 3 because his reputation's on the line. Now, is he leaving Marvel? No. It looks like he's doing more stuff. But where do you go after this? You did the big Avengers book. You did the big X-Men book. Like, what's next? I guess Spider-Man. There's always Spider-Man. Imagine a Jonathan Hickman Spider-Man. You know what I want from him? Kamala Khan. I want to see them say, okay, we're doing something with this character. We're not racist at Marvel, so we're going to give the best writer that we have to this Kamala Khan character and see what happens. Like, I want to see that. That would shut me up for calling out Marvel for their, I guess, race relations. That would also shut me up with I'd be getting a Jonathan Hickman comic book that I would enjoy. That's what I would want from Hickman. That's just me campaigning. Is there anything more for me to say here? Probably not. You guys want to talk in the comment section? Talk to me in the comment section. But this is damning. I've been saying I'm not reading the rest of the X-Men books, so it's like no surprise here. The X-Men are canceled. Legit. That's not even something I'm saying as a joke. Like, cancel culture, they're canceled. I no longer will support all the titles. I was going to name them. Let's not do that. Thumbs up the video if you appreciate the stuff.